Welcome. Hello, how is everybody doing? It is February 14th, Wednesday. That means a RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs. I'm going solo today. Corbin is out, my understanding, with a case of gross incompetent micromanagement. But that's okay. Well, I mean, it's not okay for him. It sucks for him. For me, I'll get through it. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about all kinds of stuff today. A few things. How's everybody out there doing? Are y'all doing well? Let's see. Really quick, I just realized I want to make a note. I think for a video that I did, or a game stream I did earlier, I wanted to make a note for making sure I didn't confuse which one was which. All right, that's done. So, hey, Metric Brawl, how's it going? Didn't expect a RambleCast at this time. Actually, this is pretty much always when I stream them. Actually, they used to start a little bit earlier, but that kind of moved because Corbin was when he took his current position, it kind of forced him to be on the clock up until 5 o'clock his time, and then we could never get started before like a half hour after that, if not a little later. So yeah, it just kind of kept getting pushed until now it's an hour after he's off work. Let's see. Oh, you were sick again. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, then game streams happened just obviously a couple hours later, because that's when it makes sense on those weekend nights. Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that 9 times out of, well, no, that'd be a lie. I'll just say that if it weren't for the fact that I usually kind of want to take the day to try to get other work done, usually with like daylight being a factor, yeah, that's kind of why the game streams start a bit later. There are other factors, but that's a big one. And if the day ever comes that I start actually having a life again, we'll see what has to happen with the game streams. Though I guess they could always move a little bit earlier, and if I was like going out afterward, that would work. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, you're recovering well. Good job. Still coughing like a smoker. See, that is one, obviously brutal. Two, that is like the definition of how I go through getting sick. I actually have this tendency. I will actually get over being sick really quickly. Usually. There have been exceptions, but generally speaking, I'll get over the part where I'm sick in like a day or two. I mean, again, not always, but historically, I've been really good at just like, I'll catch something. I used to just power through orange juice, just drink tons and tons of OJ. I know people say that doesn't make any difference. I kind of feel like it did. I don't do that part anymore, but still, I get over stuff really quickly, except the cough. The cough, which is no longer the sickness causing it. It's just a persistent cough that it'll stick with me for days, if not weeks. And it's because it becomes a reflex, and the coughing already irritates the throat. Kind of just, it becomes a cycle where sometimes the coughing actually gets worse even after I'm done being sick. And yeah, that always That's never fun. It's never fun at all. Anyway, so this week has it's brought us a few unusual tech stories, a few I think that aren't that unusual, kind of almost predictable, and perhaps one that I don't know that anyone would be surprised by, but oh boy, does it just feel like a weird story. Let's see. Considering the Discord notifications are as functional as mom building a PC without help, it's surprising you caught the RambleCast. I'm assuming that must be kind of a locality issue. I don't know. I've heard different stories. Some people say the Discord notifications never work for them. Others I've heard say it's how they catch the RambleCast, because YouTube notifications don't usually work for them, but the Discord usually does. And Discord, by and large, has been pretty good with notifications to me, though I have definitely seen notifications come through like 10 minutes late, as opposed to coming through like when somebody sends them. Or maybe it's because you joined like 100 servers. Wow. Yeah, I can't do that. For me, Discord... I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a decent number of servers on here, but my decent number of servers is... I want to say like 11, 12, something like that. And honestly, like a lot of these, most of these, I do not have any involvement in. Like, I might hop in there, talk for a couple of days, and then I won't look at the server again for anywhere from 2 to 6 months. And then I'll kind of maybe remember it and get back into it for a little bit, and then I'm gone again. Brawl, you don't get any notifications on mobile. Yeah, see, that sounds like a location issue. I have a feeling it's where you're at. Is this where the green bubbles hang out on Valentine's Day? Hells yeah. We're the cool kids, don't you know? Yeah, I'm sitting here holding my tea and throwing out Minnesota-isms, Fargo-isms. Don't you know? Is that a Minnesotan thing, or is that that's not Canadian first, is it? I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, how's it going, Austin? And yeah, I was debating if I should even make fun of the Google's Valentine's Day thing, which, by the way, happy Valentine's Day to anyone that does that thing. And for those that haven't heard, rumor has it that this Valentine's Day is going to set a record for the amount of money spent on other people, on your significant others specifically. There was a chart. I'm not gonna dig it out, but it was funny because the previous record was set by, and I'm not kidding, February 14th, 2020. Just as the pandemic is starting, everyone was like, "Oh, we need to make sure that we're in good with whoever it is we live with, because we might be stuck with them for a while." And then there was a massive dip in 2021, like crazy deep dip. And it has been recovering since, but yeah. Brawl. Yeah, you wasted 5.7 million GTA bucks on a flying car in the Grand Theft Auto Online. 2020 had the record for like 4 years, yeah. To be fair, 2020 felt like it lasted 4 years. But anyway. Yeah, so Google's... I wasn't going to start with this, but since it's been referenced, may as well. I don't know if everyone has watched, obviously Austin did, but Google's Finding Love with Z-Way? I don't actually remember how she pronounced her name, or if she even pronounced it at all. But yeah, that video was some pretty deep cringe. It's not the worst thing that I've seen Google do. We've seen worse. Let's be honest, we've seen worse. We've seen so much worse. That one was not great, but it was not the worst. It was, but it was cringe. It was very cringy. I think Google probably had the right idea, though. You may as well keep beating up on Apple. I think kicking them while they're down, well, not down, but sort of kicking them after they've agreed to support RCS, maybe not the best move. Especially because it also asserts that they're not going to do it terribly. Which, fun fact, there's a story coming up later that involves that exact sort of thing. And actually, you know what? I might move that one up in the list too. We'll just do that right now. So it's a shame Corbin's not going to be on, because that's a topic I actually wanted to have him talk about. But oh well. Let's see. Anyway, yeah, I get what they were going for. They wanted it to be cute and sociable. They wanted to do something for Valentine's Day, and obviously didn't have a lot of other good ideas. Some part of me is thinking what they should have done, and not even joking here, I think they should have done an ad using Gemini Advanced, I think it is. Or whatever. Like, write a personalized Valentine's Day card for me. That's, for this person and involves these things. Like, that would have actually been a really cool, way to use Valentine's Day and market their AI stuff. Marketing Green Bubble, I get it. It's actually not a bad idea, but it's a thing that they have hammered on enough times, and I don't think it's working, or I don't think it matters right now. There wasn't a lot that they could say or do, so they did okay with it. And I will say, as cringy as the whole thing was, there was one moment I'm so glad they had it. It was the spot where the host asks the one guy, would you date somebody with Android? And he's like, no, that's a deal breaker, or something like that. And the very attractive girl who's supposedly getting her pilot's license, who's sitting next to him, is like, that's really weird. Look, this is something that just needed to be said out loud. Like, that's the thing. And I mean, it's been said out loud, but it needs to be said out loud a lot more. People should be shamed for this really weird tribalistic behavior. They should not just be walking around being like, oh, I only want to hang out with blue bubbles. No, you should be made fun of for this. You should actively be made fun of, not just casually, like in quiet corners. There should be, and I'm gonna say this, there should be multi-billion-dollar companies literally making commercials making fun of you for being like that. And on that note, there's a reason I said tribalistic behavior, because there should be multi-billion-dollar companies making commercials about all the bad tribalism in this world, especially this country. Well, no, actually a lot of countries. There's a lot of stupidity going on in a lot of countries. So, I'll stand behind this opinion. I will. All right. Anyway, Austin said, you had yours on Sunday and dinner was $200 for a Valentine's weekend set menu. It was okay, but decent restaurant prices are crazy in DC. So, let's see. All right. I'll come back to it in just a minute. I actually have do I want to tell that story? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, Brawl saying didn't learn. Oh, about the online classes, didn't learn crap but loved them. It's actually kind of a shame because, man, online classes. Don't get me wrong. I've taken a few that were terrible, but I've encountered a few that were decent too. Out of curiosity, what online classes did you take? Like, what kind? Was it like computer programming stuff? Was it just college classes in general? Was it, yeah, like what classes were you taking that you didn't get anything from? I don't know why, but I'm just a little curious. Some things I think don't translate well to online courses. Other things should be good. Austin, this was specifically about bubble color though, and that's not changing. Disagree. It was not specifically about bubble color. That's just how they referenced it. But they did, during that video, I very clearly remember they did ask why, and somebody made a very clear, one of the blue bubble people made a very clear statement that it's because images are all fuzzy and pixelated, and they said something about, I thought they said something about group chats being weird. I might be wrong on that. They said something about they can't like haha my funny joke or something, which the moment I heard that one, it was just like, ooh, there's a little bit more of that cringe. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a quick remark, but the video was what? Correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 3 minutes? 2 minutes, 33 seconds. That includes the like startup time and things like that. 2 minutes, 33 seconds. Like they gave that subject, I don't know, not a lot of time, but it was like 10 seconds. That's enough. That's enough. They got their point across. Like there was a legitimate, like, it's not just about bubble color. There's actually more to it that is at least somewhat relevant. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that there's an element of people just being trashy about this. Like, people do want to be snobbish about bubble color, but my capacity to care about them is extremely minimal. I think they're useless trolls at this point who care about that. Anyway, Brawl, last time we had a Valentine was 2014, single for years. Actually, now that I think about it, well, it's been a bit longer, I think, since I had one, which I'm not actually counting as a bad thing. Anyway, if she wants an iPhone on a date, the iPhone 4 is coming out. Actually, I would kind of love to see a response to that. Somebody pulls out an iPhone 4 on a date, and I would love to see how that reaction goes. You know, is this a person who's going to suddenly see that and go, oh wow, like, what secret phone is that? What phone did Apple come out with that's all tiny like that? And then you're gonna be like, oh no, this thing, oh, it's just the phone from, what is that, 12 years ago? No, more than that. iPhone 4, I'm just guessing that was what, 2011? So 13 years ago? Or was it older than that? Because 2008 was the original. Would have been 9 for the 3G, 10 for the 3GS, 11 for the 4. Oh, 2010 was the 4? Okay. Okay. It must have been 2 in the same year, or something at one point. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Let's see. You basically got nothing for the whole program with those online courses. That's a shame. Okay, let's see. And if your internet was extra Romanian, you got to skip school. Oof. I mean, I get that, but also not great. Awesome. Google's setting themselves up to move the goalposts to bubble color when Apple does support RCS. I don't know about. Well, okay. I think the goalpost is going to get moved, but I think it's going to be for good reason, which is what I'm going to hit in just a minute. I honestly think there's good reason for them to be ready to move the goalpost. I don't think that this ad is them moving the goalpost or even preparing for it. I think this is just how everyone talks about it. Nobody talks about RCS versus iMessage. They talk about blue bubble versus green bubble. It's colloquialisms. It's just how people say it. And it's everybody understands that within the context of anybody understanding any of this. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of people just don't understand this subject at all. If they don't get it. If they do understand this subject, even the people who do understand it, outside of the really enthusiast crowd, I think most of them they just refer to it as blue bubble versus green bubble. But yeah, anyway. So, yeah, the reason I'm saying that the goalpost should probably be maybe not moved, but ready to be moved. Oh, I can move my camera over here because it looks like we don't have chat showing up where it's supposed to. It just keeps happening. Anyway, so yeah, Apple is getting ready to roll out the so-called side loading, which is not side loading. Go back a couple weeks and watch that RambleCast to get all the complaints and details on that subject. But they're getting ready to roll out apps distributed through third-party app stores in the EU, specifically in the EU. And as a result, Apple has been slowly, or not slowly, but they have actually broken so-called not progressive web apps, but oh yeah, sorry, it is progressive web apps. Yeah, they have basically broken progressive web app support in the EU. This isn't necessarily total breaking. What they've broken is the ability to quote-unquote install a web app to an iPhone and have it open in its sort of containerized form. All of those pre-installed containerized web apps now have to go, or they basically behave like bookmarks, which has had a number of side effects. One of which is a few of the technologies that progressive web apps support, like the local store or notifications, local storage. And by the way, these are things you don't have to be a progressive web app. You can run these through a browser, but they're things that are starting to break. Apple has broken a ton of these features in the latest iOS updates or betas. And as a result, it's kind of screwing up the experience in the EU. Now, granted, I don't think a lot of people use progressive web apps, like actually installing them to their phones. I'm sure obviously plenty of people do, but I think it's relatively minimal. That being said, the fact that they're being broken is not a good sign. And this has been not just like one iOS beta, but this is now at least 2 of the betas. I think maybe 3. Let's see. And hey, T Pharrell, how's it going? Well, you've been here before. Just as a heads up, in case you don't know, or forgot, game nights are just on Saturday and Sunday. I do a tech podcast style of show on Wednesdays. So, let's see. Speaking of 2020 setups, and they ask why you buy Android. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not a good look for Apple, because this is turning into a situation where they basically becoming increasingly petty and childish about the fact they're being forced to open up app installation. So they're getting third-party app stores going out there, or rather the EU is getting this. But in turn, Apple is, at least the theory is, Apple is killing off a method of installing software that they don't directly control through their stores. So yeah, this is quickly becoming kind of like a punishment, a way for Apple to sort of stick it to anybody that doesn't go through their stores. T Pharrell. Game night on Saturday and Sundays starts 5 o'clock, generally speaking, about 5 o'clock p.m. on Pacific time. Again, won't be tonight, so. Let's see. Anyway. Brawl. To be fair, the RambleCast usually on Wednesday. It's very rare that it's any other day. That being said, every once in a rare while, I do streams on other days that are like photo edits. I have done photo shoots a couple of times. I've also done I have done a few oddball game streams, not on weekends. Like I did it for the last hours of Stadia. Once we knew what time Stadia was going to shut down, I hopped on and played Borderlands, if I recall, right up until the servers were shut down for Borderlands, and then I kept trying out different Stadia games until I found the last ones remaining that were still active. It was a goofy stream, but it was fun. Anyway, so yeah, this is and T Pharrell, just for reference, typically there's usually somebody else on with me, not today. Anyway, so yeah, I think Apple is doing kind of a like stick it to the government, stick it to the users, sort of just like flaunting the fact that if they're forced to do something, they're going to take something away in turn. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what the Verge article certainly asserted, and I don't really disagree with the logic. Or I don't really disagree with the Verge's takeaway. Because it really does kind of smell like this is something Apple's doing on purpose. They're literally breaking web apps just for the sake of showing that they can, which is probably not a good look, which brings us back to obviously the RCS green bubble blue bubble point. Look, I predicted this the moment that it was announced, and I still hold to this theory today, there is no way that they are going to launch RCS support that is not broken and busted. Sorry, just realized I'm still coming in a little quiet. That's not that it's that big of a deal, but I try to get my vocals to hit in the yellow every time, and they're just nudging the bottom. Anyway, let's see. Brawl. Did you hear that NVIDIA released a talk with RTX thingy? If you have a 30 series or 40 series GPU, you can talk to your GPU. I hadn't really heard about it. I'm not surprised. That said, I don't have an NVIDIA GPU, I think, anywhere in the house anymore. Actually, I take it back. I do technically have. I have one from like 12-ish years ago. Don't think that counts. Oh, wait. No, that's older than that. No, wait. That... I don't know. Well... Yeah, it is older. I think when I bought that, or when I built this computer, I think that would have been... I don't know. When did I build this computer? It was in the 2000s. It was before 2010. So that the GPU in there's ancient. But it would have been NVIDIA. And the computer is dead. It won't... It can't be powered on. Or rather, it can be powered on, but it's... it shuts itself off randomly. Not because the power supply is underpowered, but because it suffered from a lightning storm and something is wrong in it, and it just... I don't know what, but it just kept causing components to fry themselves. So I never figured it out. At a certain point, I gave up trying to replace stuff. Let's see. Anyway. So, yeah, I here's the thing. I still really wonder if Apple is going to do something cringy, like release a separate messaging app just for RCS, or maybe they will do like a bare minimum of support for RCS, and then the rest of it will just be broken and crappy and bad. Maybe when they launch it, it just literally might not even work properly, or they'll put in the bare minimum of the feature set and just stop there, and nothing else will be supported. I mean, there are a dozen different ways that they can break it, and we just don't know how yet. And obviously, like, they could still leave it out of group messaging. They can still leave it out of it being able to work with iMessage, so people still just don't want to send messages, especially like graphics, images, or video. These things, they shouldn't be problems, but Apple can make them problems. What are they going to call a separate app? IRCS message? They might. I would not put it past them to like change the color of the icon to something drab and gray or brown. I wouldn't put it past them to make it a whole separate app. I wouldn't put it past them to maybe they'll put it in iMessage, but bury it as low as they can so people won't find it and use it. The list of possibilities is kind of endless. And all I can say is I'm expecting whatever I've come up with, I think they're going to come up with something even more, I don't want to say insidious, just more obviously petty. That's what I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be petty. At this point, call it exactly like this. Tim Cook iMessage with RCS. Maybe. You never know. Obviously, they won't actually put Tim Cook's name on it, but they probably should. So anyway, kind of hit enough of this topic. I'm going to sidestep into what was actually going to be the original topic, and fortunately just a continuation of the Apple stuff. And by the way, after this next topic, no more Apple stuff. Kind of a change for this show. Keeping the Apple stuff relatively short. But speaking of things that have been relatively short, the ownership of Vision Pros seems to be a fairly short experience for a lot of people. And it's unclear about how many people are actually returning, but apparently it's a fair number. At least it's enough that it's triggering the attention of people. So lots of people rushed out, got Vision Pros right away, and a number of them have promptly now decided to box them back up and take them back to Apple. For those that don't know, Apple has a return period of 14 days for essentially any of their products. They do have some exceptions for things like I believe that if you get anything engraved, you can't return it. But also like anything purchased basically starting with a Black Friday sale can be returned for a much longer period up until I think it's January 30th. Those are about the only two major exceptions to the Apple return policy. Metric Brawl, Apple has a return policy? ? Yes, they do. They're pretty good about it, but I would say they're not always good about it. I see the bit about returning the headphone jack and getting fired. I don't know that would get anyone fired. Anyway, so a lot of people returning their Vision Pros. Most people are citing comfort issues or various side effects of sort of the bad comfort design. So, headaches, eye strain, things like that. Other people have been complaining about the normal stuff that VR headsets all suffer from, which is things like motion sickness and it screws with your eyes if you wear one for too long. Some people get like weird sort of vertigo side effects. Look, these are things, and I've said this in previous streams. If you have never worn a VR headset before, this is kind of normal stuff. Not for everybody. Some people have no trouble with it. It's sort of like some people, you can stick them in the back seat of a car, hand them a video game, like a handheld, hand them a Switch, whatever, have them head down staring at the game the entire time, and you could be doing you could be driving fast through mountain corners. They'll be fine. There are other people, you can put them in the passenger seat just staring straight ahead and they'll get motion sickness. Everyone's different. So look, it's just kind of one of those things. Some people probably have never tried a VR headset before and this was their first, so I think some of those people, that's why they're complaining. That particular thing isn't really on Apple. But some of the issues are, the headset is heavy. It's heavier than any of the MetaQuest headsets. It's heavier than, actually, I think it's heavier than the original Vive, which was a fairly chunky headset. And the design of their strap to hold it on, they include two different straps in the box, one of which is good for photos, but notoriously really uncomfortable, especially for long-term wear. They have a second one, which looks more like it looks more like a retainer, like one of those old dental retainer head, like whole headset kind of things. That one is apparently a lot more comfortable, but it's still not as comfortable as the designs some other companies have used. So yeah, it's, Apple kind of maybe goofed on that particular aspect of the design. And there is just a lot of weight up front, where some of the headsets kind of handle this by moving some weight to the back. So, they end up having more weight total on the head, but since it's balanced on your head a little better, it kind of alleviates a little bit of the trouble. Apple probably needed to reconsider their design on this, maybe a lot. Anyway, there is one other big reason people are complaining about it and or returning it, and that's because they got it and realized this can't do much. It'll run iPad apps, if they're opted in. It will, it can mirror a MacBook Pro screen, just one, which is kind of a bad limit. And it has a few other obvious uses, like watching movies and things like that. But the list of things people have found that you can do with it, not particularly great. It doesn't really have much of a gaming story. It doesn't really have too many good applications for use yet. I didn't bother pulling up a link. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Link to the previous story going into chat there. And the current one, yeah, it's a big Verge day today for links. The current one with the returns, that's the second link. All right, anyway. And really quickly, Brawl saying, let's see, tried PSVR once while it was okay, decided to be a smart guy and play a horror game, so you got scared. So, yeah, I've never tried a PSVR. I've wanted to, but it just, I even know some people who had one and they wanted to sell it to me, but I never had an opportunity to go try it out. And that was the original. I wasn't even that interested in the original. I kind of knew that at the time, I knew the PS5 was coming fairly soon, and Sony had already confirmed that they were going to do PSVR 2. It came, I think, later than anyone expected it to, but still. And to be fair, the list of games on a PSVR 2 is still not great. So it's also an issue. Regardless. Yeah, the Vision Pro, look, it is a cool thing, but the use cases are limited. And I've seen what a lot of people are doing with them. They're not doing much. People are using them kind of as gimmicks still, which fine. That's great. I guess. But it's not wonderful. So, yeah, I'm kind of in this position where I think and this is the reason for the title of the show. I think these returns are the reason why the Vision Pro costs $3,500. I think Apple knew it was going to release this headset. And I think there were plenty of people who sat there saying, you know what? We're going to sell this thing. We're going to make a limited number. We're going to sell this thing. And there's going to be returns. There are going to be a lot of returns. And we should not actively be losing more money than we really have to, reasonably speaking, on Vision Pro returns. So let's make a limited number of them. Let's boost the price up really high. And that way when people buy it and some of them turn around and return it later, we've got that return cost built into that price. So the people who don't return theirs are subsidizing the ones who do. And then there will be a refurbished price, because there will be. I mean, I would not be surprised if people start watching for it. Vision Pro used, quote unquote used Vision Pro headsets are probably going to start turning up on Apple's website or in the stores, maybe. And when that happens, I don't know what their price is going to be, but I kind of wouldn't be surprised. Actually, what is the typical markdown for iPhones? Let's see, returned iPhone markdown. I don't. Yeah, I'm not seeing an answer to that right away. Austin, you don't think Apple really cares about returns that much to affect the MSRP? This is never going to be a device that breaks even. No, I don't think it was ever going to break even. But I do think that Apple was looking at this, and two things factor in here. One, I think they didn't want to take a bath on this. That is 100% why I think they limited. Looking back, I know the story is they could only make so many, and they didn't want to commit. They didn't want to overproduce them, so they picked a number and decided to go with that. And I forget if it was 40,000 or 80,000. I want to say it was 80,000, but I think that's why they decided to make exactly 80,000. I'm pretty sure that they looked at the cost, they looked at the investment, and said, what happens if we sell a bunch of these and too many of them get returned? We're going to end up paying X amount of dollars in basically just eating the fact that some people bought them and tried them and returned them. And I think they realized, let's limit that, or realized that they could limit that. And so I think that is a part of why they're limiting the number. I do also think that there's some amount of here's what we actually need to make off of these. Not need. Apple doesn't need to. Let's be honest, Apple's making enough money. They could have made those 80,000 headsets and literally given them away. They could. They have that ability. They have the money for it. Apple's not going to do that. Of course they're not going to do that. And I think, yes, they did want to set the price artificially high. I fully agree with all these points, but I think somewhere along the way, someone at least did the basic calculus on this and said, let's look at how much we actually think this should sell for, and let's assume that's going to be the price that we sell the refurbs at. And then let's give it a markup, and that's the price that we'll sell it at up front. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but everyone keeps coming back to this thing is too expensive, and it's more expensive than makes sense. You could attribute that to a number of factors, and I get it. I've tried to kind of rationalize some of the aspects of the price, but when you spin it kind of the other direction, just say, well, what if they figured out what they actually wanted to price this at, and then just added a markup to account for returns? At that point, this makes sense. All of a sudden, $3,500 starts sounding like oh yeah, that just kind of explains it. Let's see, Austin. I don't think Apple will break even until they're on the complete next generation of AR form factor. When you say that, are you saying like Vision Pro 2 and 3 are not break-even devices, but they need to get to like a separate design, like something that is not these goggles, but maybe like glasses? Is that the kind of complete next gen you're talking about, or are you saying something else? are you just saying it has to be like Vision Pro 2? And with Vision Pro 2, they'll be like, all right, we're just going to make these for the whole audience, and they're now being sold. And Brawl, you're going to bed, coughing bad, nose is stuffed, and sleepy. Good night. All right, hey, take it easy. Sleep well. Good luck. Austin, you think Vision Glass, or whatever name, obviously, will be the break-even device? I disagree. Only because I think it's going to take them so many years to get to that point. I think we're going to have... I'm going to go a little bit crazy with this. I think we're going to have at least 5 years. Probably 6 years. In this basic form factor. Just because I don't think the technology is going to move fast enough to really give a different form factor a real chance. In a way that Apple will be able to make it work for the platform that they are pushing right now. Because the platform that they're pushing right now kind of focuses on resolution. It kind of focuses on cameras up front. It kind of focuses heavily on being a pass-through AR. I think, and very specifically, a lot of their interface design principles are built on these specific things. Like they kind of painted themselves into a corner with Vision Pro. And for that reason, I'm kind of looking at it and thinking, yeah, I think they're locked in. And maybe they're already working on something else. Maybe they've already decided, hey, we'll push this for the next 2 or 3 years, and we've got this other thing in the works that, yeah, it's going to be totally better. We'll just do that. And I don't know, maybe. But I think they're locked in enough that they can't really change this path very easily. And when you say break even, I assume you're also talking about like the R&D cost and everything else. First off, by that logic, I think their break even is a long way out, which is what you're saying too. And I agree. I think their break even is a long way out. But I think the reason for that has a lot more to do with the fact that, honestly, we've heard the stories. They've been doing R&D on this for years. Long enough that it actually seems like maybe Vision Pro should have been further along than it was. Because, man, it seems like maybe they missed multiple marks with this thing. R&D supposedly in the multiple billions. That's exactly it. I think their break-even point, it honestly, like, it won't matter if I don't think it's going to matter if they sell just boatloads of these things in like the second and third generations. It just purely as a side effect of how much they've been dumping into this over the years anyway. Yeah, it's the recovery time is just going to be outrageous. But I don't think that factors into it. I don't think that factors into their pricing decisions, because I'm pretty sure they care a lot more about just getting a product that the public is going to eat up. I could be wrong, but it certainly feels that way. Hey, Christopher, how's it going? What's up with your day? So, and I know you've heard this before, and I find myself repeating it just in case, though. Wednesdays are a tech podcast. And the weekends are game streams. Again, I know you know that, but just reiterating in case. Let's see. So, yeah, we can obviously poke fun at Vision Pro for a while. It's sort of begging, because it's a first generation device, it's kind of begging to get beat up on, which I'm gonna say a little bit more about in a second. But you know, Apple did do some smart things with it. There's stuff there. It does look like an interesting device. I'm not convinced that they're going to get it right in their second generation. One of the things that apparently a lot of the people returning Vision Pros are saying is that they can't wait for the second gen to come out. I think they're fooling themselves if they think it's going to be that much different. I think the second generation Vision Pro is going to be basically the first generation, but maybe a tiny bit lighter. Maybe it's going to be I'm thinking that they'll fix some of the stupidity with like the charging cable or power cable. I think they'll probably do a bit of a redesign on the head strap and a few of the other things. I think they'll fix some stuff, but I think anyone who's expecting this to be vastly different is delusional. It's going to be a very, very similar device that just has some improvements. This is going to be like going from the, from the iPhone 4S to the 5 kind of a thing. This isn't going to be a big total gear shift from one model to the next. Christopher, how does it even work? How does what work? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, anyway. So I said this is a first generation device and it's kind of fun to beat up on it. Well, somebody is beating up on it. And it's this goofball. Vision Pro works by magnets. I actually don't know how to answer the question. How does it even work? That's probably something, depending on what it is that you mean by that, that's probably something better answered by like whole dedicated YouTube videos. There's so much that goes into VR and AR headsets that I mean, I understand a lot of it, but I'm not sure what aspects you'd be meaning. But yeah, so Mark Zuckerberg put a video on Instagram beating up on the Vision Pro. If this isn't the perfect example of tone deaf billionaire trying to dunk on something, I don't know what is. So the good old Zuck decided to, I think correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I am. I swear he was in like a hotel room or something when he did this. Certainly looks like it, though. I guess that could be an office. Anyway, he did this video where he basically says, look, I tried a Vision Pro. It's fine. Like it's, it does some things, but check out why the Quest is better. And the video is really kind of hilarious because he's basically saying, here's this thing, it's better, and sort of ignoring the part where the Quest devices have now been on the market for 5 years? Maybe a little more. I don't know. It's been a while since the first Quest came out. And yeah, they weigh less. They're more comfortable. No one's disputing that. It is, however, notable that the resolution differences are pretty significant. He says that he doesn't really see the differences, or that he doesn't think that they make that much of a difference. I've heard other people commenting on this, and they're saying yes, to some extent. Like, they were expecting more sharpness out of the Vision Pro, but they're not getting it. But it is still sharper than the Quest 3. And I haven't heard anybody saying they can't tell a difference. I've just heard people saying that they thought that the difference would be bigger. Let's see. Oh, hey, Carson, how's it going? Christopher, Quests are for games and stuff. Don't think Vision Pro has any games on it. Strictly speaking, Vision Pro allows for iPad games, which is not a great answer to that. Because you can do stuff like connecting Bluetooth controllers and things like that, or I'm pretty sure you can. You can't necessarily do much beyond that. They don't have like a full immersive game SDK yet. So yeah, that's kind of a problem. It's a very, very deeply limiting factor for the Vision Pro. And yeah, the Quest 3 and Quest Pro are really, they're, you can debate whether the Quest Pro is for games, but the Quest 3 obviously is. Like, that's what it's best for. Going beyond that, yeah, I agree. I think they're for different purposes. The problem is the Vision Pro right now is a iPad that you wear. That's kind of what it does. It is an iPad that you wear on your face. Whereas the Quest 3 it's an AR VR headset for gaming. That's kind of just what these are. Like, they are different products for different purposes and totally different intentionality. But even in the places where they overlap, Zuck is not wrong. Like, the Quest 3, by all functional purposes, is actually better at doing some of the stuff that the Vision Pro supposedly should be good at, like having virtual desktops. I don't think he actually even mentions that, but there are some aspects where obviously the Vision Pro is just going to be better because it has more hardware, or higher performance hardware. But the Quest 3 is going to win on the fact that, one, it is significantly lighter, it's significantly cheaper, and yes, it has been around longer, so it has a better selection of games and apps for it. But this is one of those things. Give Apple 2 to 3 years. And yeah, that's a big ask. That's a relativism that's important here. But 2 or 3 years is how long it's going to take for a lot of things like game SDKs to be fully supported. 2, that's how long it's going to take for app developers to really start getting good use out of the hardware. And not necessarily pushing the hardware to its limits, but designing better interfaces for it. Coming around to its limitations, seeing what it can and can't do, things like that. Give it those 2 to 3 years, 3 or 4 years, whatever. Let's see how a lot of those differences between whatever the current Quest is then and the current Vision Pro then. I mean, that's a future question, not a present question, but I feel like Zuck is sort of setting himself up for an argument that ages very poorly. Austin, welcome to the Green Bubble support group. Oh man, you're gonna dunk on that video a lot, aren't you? Let's see. Carson, need a budget version first for app developers to actually care. I do agree with this. Completely, wholeheartedly, I agree with this, because I saw so many developers saying, look, between the limited number of devices that are going to be out there, the fact that some apps are going to be horrible to test on the simulator, you really have to just have a device to try out. And the obvious fact that, yeah, the price is dissuading a lot of people from getting this thing. You put all those things together and yeah, realistically, nobody should be trying to make money building apps for the Vision Pro. Not yet. I mean, there's a lot to be said for, like, be the first who gets your things there. Be the first to start building the apps, and then in 2 or 3 years, when your app has some maturity on it, and you can sort of claim to be an early adopter, and you know, your install numbers are just sort of automatically higher because people are trying out different apps and things like that. When you can make those claims, that might matter. But today, yeah, you're not going to make money making Vision Pro apps. Christopher, have I seen what happened with Overwatch 2? Should be asking that when I'm playing games. I don't know what you're referencing. I've played it since the new season started, and I know about like the competitive reset, things like that. I know about the Pharah rework, which not a fan. I haven't played her. I'm not a fan in the sense that it's made Pharah players too powerful. But if there's something else I don't know about, do tell. Carson, budget to Apple will still be like 1,000. I think you're grossly underestimating. No, not even kidding. I'm pretty sure that their budget headset, no joke at all, I think 1,500 minimum. I'd be surprised if it's not higher. No joking, no question to it. I think 1,500 is a bare minimum for what they're going to end up charging for it. I mean, it requires more hardware than an iPad of, you know, similar intended functionality. The hardware's more expensive to make. The various side factors like Apple Care and the various hoops you have to jump through. Also, the fact that they're going to, I don't know that this one counts for that much, but Apple's going to make very little money off of people with a Vision Pro for a while, because that whole thing where I'm saying app developers aren't going to make money from apps, the reality is that also means Apple's not making any extra money off of apps, really, like not significantly so. So, you know, they don't have that as like an extra thing. I'm not going to say subsidizing it per se, but you know, it's kind of subsidizing. There's a whole lot of stuff where, I just sit here and I think the Vision Pro is not going to the Vision hardware, I don't think is ever going to get cheap. Not in that sense. I think it's going to be fairly expensive. Christopher, they increase the hitboxes of the bullets so you can shoot a mile away from your target and still hit them. Yeah, I know about that. Yep, they raised everyone's HP, their damage. They increased the hitboxes for bullets, especially especially anything that was hit scan. There were a few things that didn't get increases. Like Roadhog's chain didn't get increased. Just for example. But yeah, I think they're going to have to do some rebalancing. I haven't tried it yet, and I haven't seen too many people trying it yet, but I have a feeling that Hanzo players are going to abuse the living crap out of that. Fairly soon, in fact. You just quit. I'm choosing not to play. I'm choosing not to play competitive for about a week. I'm letting the ranks kind of balance themselves a little bit, and then I'll start hopping in. But I'm not going to quit playing, especially because, but look, I'm not super big on cosmetics, the in-game cosmetics, but I gotta say, have you looked at this season's battle pass? Honestly, kind of great. Like they're diving deep into like horror adjacent. I kind of dig it. I honestly, it's what they should have done for Halloween. It's some good looking stuff for this season's pass. Anyway, so yeah, I don't have too much else to say on this. Oh, one other thing, and if anyone who is watching in Discord, you saw me say this already, but Zuckerberg went on a spiel about the Vision Pro being a closed platform, and the Quest platform is open. How? It's borderline untrue. Like the only thing that really makes the Quest platform sort of open-ish is that you can sideload apps. Once you are signed into their developer portal with a working account, which, as Corbin can tell you, is apparently kind of a complicated issue. So you're allowed to sideload apps with a developer account. That's not a big win. You can literally already do this with a Vision Pro. It's the same thing. You can get a free developer account and sideload apps. That's granted, yes, that requires that somebody either make custom builds for you, make test builds and add you to them, or gives you the source code. Yes, that is a different thing, but it's not like, it's not that big of a difference right now. Otherwise, man, everything in the Quest is still really closed and locked down. Calling that an open platform is just a lie. So, yeah, just saying. Let's not start pretending anything here. When Google launches its attempt at an XR platform, then let's see what happens. We'll see who wants to call open a thing. Anyway, so moving on and away from Apple, let's beat up on Google for a little bit. Oh, actually, do I want to do that? Yeah, I'll just do this one. Let's see, Christopher. They said that they were trying to make the game easier to play, which the new players can hit shots and takes away from the skill from the game. Have you played it since they boosted the size of the bullet hitboxes? I feel like it didn't change that much. There's definitely a little bit of an element where I feel like I'm getting hit a little bit more easily. So I do detect that something's changed. Being able to evade stuff by going around corners is harder. Or rather, I'm certainly getting killed going around corners a little bit more easily. That part sucks, but I have a feeling that they're going to nudge this back a little bit. But yeah, they definitely are doing something that's sort of a let's help the newbies. Also, you can tell. I think it's 50% just making it an easier game for newbies, and 50% making it more playable for console players. Because console, look, people talk about aim assist. Aim assist is garbage. It makes the game worse. And I don't mean for everybody else. I mean, it actually screws you up when aim assist is on half the time. So, I'm not going to make as big a fuss about that. I think it's so that when aim assist grabs your aim and pulls it off to the side in stupid ways that it shouldn't do, then yeah, I think those larger hitboxes it just helps. It helps accommodate the fact that your aim gets screwed up all the time. You feel like you're seeing more Ashes, Hanzos, Annas, and Widows. I always see a ton of Ash, tons and tons of Ashes. Hanzos seem to kind of come and go. I haven't seen too many since the new season, but obviously I'm sure there will be. I always see a ton of Annas because Anna is one of keyboard and mouse players. Anna is one of the favorites anyway. I see Anna's in like 3/4 of the matches because she is overpowered. She's not the greatest healer, but her abilities are rock star power. They're way, way more powerful than most of the supports. So, yeah, it is what it is. And Widows, I see in almost every match. I've been seeing them in almost every match. I don't think hitbox size change made any difference to I don't think it made any difference to Widow or Ash, or Anna. It might make a difference to Hanzo. But to be fair, Hanzo's hitbox was already massive. It was way too big. And so, I think that just by increasing it, they're going to make Hanzo grossly overpowered, which is not far from where he really was anyway. That being said, I still play Moira and I have it in my mind that I can bully Hanzo. And I'm pretty good at it. Hanzos hate me. So, feel like not much has changed there. The couple I've seen already, I have bullied. Like, there was one who was straight up like trying to call me out in text chat, like, dude, what's up? Why are you coming after me? It's like, dude, you're playing Hanzo. You deserve it. But when a DPS is complaining that a support is bullying them, that says a lot. Anyway, so Gemini Advanced, it launched this week. You can was it this week? Pretty sure it was. You can now pay Google $20 for, man, of course that made at least 2 devices. Stop.
I don't know, but I found these results on search. The mic's off.
Okay, only 2 devices woke up for that. Yeah, anyway, you can pay $20 to Big G, and that is the same price for ChatGPT Plus. And Gemini Advanced offers very similar set of features, a few extra things here, a few fewer things there, but yeah, it's different, but not that different. I don't have a whole lot to say on this. I kind of expected, or kind of originally planned for Corbin to be here because I figured he'd have a lot more to say on this subject. One of the notable things is you have to also subscribe to Google OneDrive, Google One, if you, at the 2 terabyte plan level, if you want to get this. Austin's saying Imogen 2 is pretty great. I haven't checked it out, but actually, I guess that's probably supposed to be said Imagine, not Imogen, but I'm not. Either way is accurate. I'm gonna pretend. Regardless, yeah, The Verge kind of did I'll call it a review. I mean, it's not technically a review, but it really sort of is. Basically comparing the two, doing a lot more kind of comparison of like the image generation capabilities, which they called out like this image, which looks neat until you realize that the dog has 2 tongues. Also some real janky teeth situation going on. but it does look, it still looks cool. Anyway, yeah, there are things that Google's Google service can do pretty well. There are some things that doesn't do very well at all. And there's kind of, that's just kind of where it's at. This feels very much like when the assistant wars were going on. Alexa versus oh wow, Siri. It took me a minute. Wow, why when Apple's assistant is now in my head, it is so far behind everybody else that its name is forgettable. That's bleak. But Alexa versus Siri versus Google Assistant, like that. When that sort of battle was going on, that's what this is feeling like now. That we're just seeing Google competing with OpenAI. Will they get? They'll obviously get better. How much better is a big question mark. What's it costing each company to run these things? How far can they be taken? We'll see. And there are some key differences that The Verge did not dive into, and I think they are pretty important to call out. And they actually give some favoritism to OpenAI. One of them is OpenAI actually has a Python interpreter built into it. One of the people I know has been using it and brought up an interesting point. So most of these things aren't really good at doing math. They just aren't. But apparently what OpenAI does instead of trying to do math now is it uses this language model to develop a Python script that does the math for it, and then that Python script gets run in its interpreter to actually do that math. And apparently it can do this with more than just math functions. It can actually do a lot of this kind of stuff, and that does make OpenAI, well, don't get me wrong, I think Python is a despicably horrible language. I will grant it's kind of useful for stuff like this. So it is a function that you just can't do with Google's stuff yet, and that's a pretty cool difference. The other big difference is OpenAI has like legitimate API access. You don't get so with ChatGPT you can actually just build software to call into your account and get results. Google hasn't done that with this yet. At least as far as I'm aware, it hasn't. So until that happens, I mean, Google's chatbot may be technically a little more advanced in some ways and less advanced in others. But more importantly, there's not really a way to make it useful in your apps. And calling into it is a different sort of scenario. Austin, you were playing with Gemini programming Python and it was really good. I'm not, notably, yes. So this is one of the things Google has mentioned in at least a couple of the blog posts. It really said that it put a lot of effort into making sure that Gemini was good at programming, which is great. Or possibly great. I mean, it's actually not that great. As a programmer, I say that because, damn it, stop killing off more of the jobs that I would be able to do. But, this is one of those things where I look at it and I feel like, hey, maybe, just maybe, it might become usable enough that I'll put it to work in various ways. That's great. I want that. But the thing is, what you're describing is great. It should be good at programming. What it's not good at is actually running the program. And it could be. That's obviously a mode that Google could add to it. It just hasn't yet. It took a physics question using Python to generate a script that generated a graph. That's great. But it won't do it. It doesn't do it internally yet. And that's where OpenAI is at least currently more advanced. At least this is my understanding of it. If I'm wrong, let me know. But as far as I'm aware, you can't get it to create a program and then just run that Python program itself. Or more to the point, you can't get it to run that program and then do something with the output or anything like that. Just realized. Green screen looks all kinds of wonky. Does moving that light source fix that? It should, but let's see what happens. Yeah, good. It did. I still have this, fun little boom arm floating right here for no reason, but it is what it is. I'll fix that. Just not today. Let's see. Austin. No, but said physics question required someone to show their work. Love that. I love that for you. It works great for MATLAB and Python homework. I don't doubt it. And that's great. These are things logically they should be getting good and better at, but we'll see how long it takes before they're like solid. More importantly though, if you can get these things to be integrated, you could do things like asking, you could develop a prompt saying, hey, develop this thing, or come up with this process for doing a thing, and then feed in this data from this other source, feed that into the code, and give me results that are formatted like blank, or sort them and organize them, filter out anything that is blank. You could do that with a prompt and get a lot of value out of that. If you have to ask it to do the code, and then you have to then feed in the data yourself, and then take the output of that data, feed it back into the chatbot, or maybe this part could be built into the program. But if you have to make a bunch of multiple steps out of doing it yourself, then the chatbot is a lot less helpful. So yeah, I think it's good. Obviously, like, people who are using Gemini Advanced are coming away with pretty positive things to say about it. Not overwhelmingly positive, but good enough. And that's solid. I'm happy for that, within reason. As Christopher said, AI is kind of getting scary. Couldn't agree more. But this is at least something where I can genuinely say there are positives. They may not be entirely positive, but there are positives. It did offer to import everything into Sheets and included adding a calculus extension that could run integrals. Okay. So yeah, let's see. Anyway, moving on to, oh man, it's a beating up companies day. I'm just gonna, these last two topics are both fortunately pretty short. But let's take a nice good jab at Blue Sky. Actually, not much of a jab. It's this one's pretty simple and straightforward, but it's funny to me. Blue Sky, for those who don't remember or don't know, some people just may not have heard of this. It is a wannabe Twitter alternative that was heavily funded by Jack Dorsey, the original founder of, or one of the original founders of Twitter. And Jack put in charge a CEO, Jay, I believe it's Graber. I could be saying that wrong. I apologize to Jay, just for reference. This person pictured here is Jay. And Jay has been kind of like not just the face of it, but really doing like the promotional run in the last couple of weeks. She has been anyway, but I mean, she's been pushing it pretty hard. And Blue Sky has been invite only up until last week. Last week, it opened up. Officially opened up. So you do not need an invite anymore. And so their sign-up process, of course, naturally exploded. At present, they are boasting 5 million users on Blue Sky. 5 million users. Now, for context, Mastodon is floating at somewhere around 14 million. It has been open longer. It's been fully open for longer. At this stage, I do kind of feel like if Blue Sky was going to keep going up at any sort of like rapid rate, well, I mean, it could, but as far as I'm aware, I think their numbers are quickly trailing off. So, right now they are a distant fourth ran, with Twitter being in the lead still, or if we believe Twitter's numbers, Twitter is still in the lead. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't pretty skeptical of that. Let's see. Instagram Threads is supposedly number 2 with, I don't know, it's something like 300 million users or so. I don't remember what number they claimed, but we know from history that Zuckerberg and Instagram have a history of inflating their numbers too. So it's probably maybe a little bit optimistic whatever numbers they are actually claiming. Mastodon comes in at a distant third place with, again, it's about 14 million users. And now Blue Sky, I guess, is locking in fourth place with 5 million. They may possibly rise, or I expect them to go up in number, but probably not astronomically so. But the new news as of today is they are planning to start supporting, or fully supporting, hashtags. Because Blue Sky apparently did not support hashtags. If you've used Blue Sky at all, which I'd be lying if I said I did. I created an account. I have one. It exists. That's it. I don't use it. I haven't opened the site except last week. I haven't opened the site in months. And I don't think I ever installed the app. I'm not sure I knew there was an app until recently. That said, everybody I know says the same thing. The website's garbage. Like, it is buggy and doesn't work very well. It actually used to be so buggy that for a long time, a lot of accounts could not even set profile pictures and backgrounds. Mine was one of them. I tried several times and finally gave up. When I hopped on this last week, that was one of the things I did, and it finally was working. So, yay. But they've now been working on this service for about a year or longer. Supposedly they were working on it for a lot longer, but like real work didn't start until right around the time that Jack was leaving or selling off his stake of Twitter. But yeah, I mean, they've had this much time and hashtags weren't supported. Their website was barely working a few months ago. The app apparently works very slowly and kind of janky. This is not how you get a service going. I'm just saying, like, this is starting to feel like a few college students working on a weekend project that is taking a lot of time. Like, this is senior project level kind of stuff, not what I expect for a service that's going to try to actually build a user base. Is anyone else using Blue Sky? I'm gonna put that question out there. I want to see if anyone responds to this, but seeing as it's fairly quiet right now, I don't expect answers from chat, but I am curious if anyone's using it. And if anybody watches this later, feel free to throw something in the comments. I'm curious if I'll get any responses anytime soon. Austin saying nope. And from what I can tell, I think Curvy Mermaid was putting a little bit of time into Blue Sky. Not like active, but at least trying to post there. I know Corbin posts there to promote his stuff, but I don't think he watches it really. So yeah, Blue Sky seems to be kind of like that, again, kind of a dead-end service right now. Plus, almost everybody I know who does try to use it, they all say that they post to it, but they don't watch anything. Like, they're not really, like, they might follow a few people to be nice, but they're not really, like, opening it up and checking the feed. Which, to me, says that that's not really active users. That's publishing. And if you are publishing to a place that doesn't really have anyone watching, you're never going to have that sense that there's a value to that platform. And strictly speaking, that just kind of means the platform doesn't really have value to its users. We'll see. Maybe this boost of users after opening it up will change something, but I don't hold high hopes. But we shall see. All right. Final topic, unless something else gets popped up, but kind of expecting this to probably be the last. It hasn't been that interesting of a week. But Amazon Prime, or Prime Video, is apparently dropping Dolby Vision and Atmos support in the ad-supported tier. And for those that don't remember or don't know, if you are a Prime subscriber, you automatically are on the ad-free tier unless you want to pay the extra $3 per month, or $2.99 to be specific. And yeah, so for those that don't know, don't follow this. And honestly, I think a lot of Prime subscribers don't even know or follow this, because most of the Prime subscribers I know don't even ever look at Prime Video, because the app is usually kind of terrible and the service it's not that good. Most of and I know that what I'm about to say sounds maybe a little like probably a limited, probably more who my friends are versus the normal user, but honestly, almost everyone I know pirates everything that's on Amazon Prime Video. They don't watch it on the service because they hate the app. So they'd rather go through pirating it and watching it through Plex or some other service, rather than just watching the thing that they actually can get for free, or well, included with their Prime service. That being said, Amazon has they evidently decided that they weren't making enough money off of Prime, so they decided to add an ad-free mode, which is the default mode. So if you're a Prime subscriber, this is what you get. Or you can have the ads turned off for an extra $3 a month. And apparently they're also tacking on as a motivator. If you care about Dolby Vision or Atmos, you have to pay that extra money. Look, YouTube did this. I didn't think it was okay when YouTube did it. I don't think it's a good look for Amazon to be doing it either, because at a bare minimum, for those that don't know, Dolby Vision, yes, it adds some bandwidth requirement, as does Atmos. No denying that. But these are not license differences as far as I'm aware. Technically, they're licensed for the creation of the media, but that's a price that is paid one time up at the top of creating the media, not a price that you pay for per stream or something like that. As a result, I can't help but look at this and just think, man, don't do this. Don't attach feature and quality stuff to a higher monthly price. You ultimately are just making people think less of your service doing this, and I'm sure some people will pay it. Some people will be totally fine with that. I think Amazon is going to further create this image in people's heads that being a Prime Video subscriber is sort of just the bargain basement thing. Because I think most people are going to stick to the ad-supported tier. Probably some because they won't even know there's an alternative. They're going to feel like ads were forced on them. And they're just... I don't think that this ultimately leaves anyone happy. And again, I'm sure there's some people who are going to be totally cool with this. And they'll be happy to pay it. But at the same time, this feels like another thing that's going to nudge people in that direction of piracy to avoid Apple's bad apps, to avoid what feels like a penny pinching step of adding either ads or an extra monthly fee. Yeah, it's feeling like maybe a bad strategy. Anyway, that's all I really had to say on this. It's a minor thing, but it feels like it needs to be called out. Also of minor calling out, I'm wearing headphones. I've got music playing, not very loud, but I have music playing. I can hear the rainstorm outside. It is coming down hard right now. So little concerned that might actually cause internet outages. So, which is probably a good time for me to also be out of topic. So, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Plus, according to YouTube's dashboard, all of a sudden my viewer count just literally dropped to 0, which seems kind of strange. It happens because YouTube's dashboard does this stuff all the time. But, hey, it seems like as good a time as ever. So, with that, Austin, not a real person. I don't know what it is. I probably should take screenshots. Well, I mean, I could anyway, but... And Carson's still here too. Yeah, seriously. Let's see. Not that it matters, but just to show. Yeah, that's the viewer graph. Yeah, I just pasted it into Discord. Viewer graph shows it has just dropped to 0. Strangely, for the last minute or so, it has also shown one person concurrently viewing, so I don't know why that graph shows one number and a different number shows up elsewhere, but hey, YouTube can't seem to get basic stats correct. But it is what it is. Anyway, so I am still going to wrap it up. Give my voice a rest. And actually, I'm going to probably start rearranging my desk so I can do some photos tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be heavily dominated by taking photos of various review units. But with that, thank you all for coming by, hanging out, and enjoying some ramble with me. Did I watch the Green Bubble dating thing? Yes, I did. And I did comment on that. Austin actually brought it up as soon as he got into chat. And so the start of the RambleCast focused on that Green Bubble dating video. And then turned into kind of a convenient segue into the Apple breaking the iPhone web apps in the EU topic, which then went into Vision Pro and so on and so forth. So yeah, weirdly, like, everything got rearranged right then, but it all worked out. And yeah, that video is cringe, but I get what they were going for. I will say again, I said it earlier, I think the better thing would have been to do a video with Google saying, or not Google saying, but with people saying or asking Gemini Advance to write Valentine's Day cards for them, personalized cards. That would have been so much better. That would have, I mean, it still would have been corny. It would have been cheesy. It would have been so cheesy. But it's Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is the day of cheese. It is all about cheese. Why wouldn't they have done that? I'm just saying. Smart bet. Lean into the right kind of cheese. But the Green Bubble video, and I said this before, I do love that they had that moment where they asked the guy, is it a deal breaker if someone uses an Android? And he's like, yeah. And then the girl's like, that's really weird. Good, because man, that was the perfect reaction. It was literally the perfect reaction for that video to have. Missed opportunity. Yeah, it was. And that's the thing. Dude, Google's marketing has been like a boat of missed opportunities lately. They have good stuff. They have the potential to do good stuff. We've seen some of their marketing videos, like remember some of the like late stage Nexus ads and the early Pixel ads. Some of those were so good. I mean, remember that one for the Nexus 7? I think it was Nexus 7, where they've got a kid and his dad like out in the woods or something, or I don't know, maybe it was just that, like, out back behind their house, but like the dad was holding the Nexus 7 up to the sky and using it to explain like which constellations there are and stuff. Like, look, that ad doesn't do anything for me personally, but I remember the reaction to that ad. People loved it. That was good stuff. Their ads now have just, a lot of them missed the mark. Austin. I love that idea. I love that idea. That would have been, I mean, Google can't do that, obviously, but I love that idea. I so love that idea. I am not even kidding, not joking at all. I am actually sitting here thinking, is this something that I could, this feels like a video I should actually try to make. I kind of want to make this video. In my head, I'm like running through, like, could I find some people who would work with me on making this? Because that is too good. Damn it. I might steal that idea. I love it. Anyway, oh hey, the YouTube dashboard suddenly decided that I have viewers again. That took a few minutes. Oh my god, I might make that. So yeah, anyway, literally copying and pasting that into a note, because that might actually get made. Anyway, so let's see, this weekend I will be doing gaming as usual, some Fall Guys, probably some Overwatch, you know. We'll see. Something just flew at my eyes. That was weird. Yeah, probably some Overwatch, you know, just cuz. Then Carson laughing at me. And then there will, let's see, be a RambleCast obviously next week as usual. I know I always say this, there's a chance of photo edits because I have a ton of work I need to do, but because of recent sleep schedules and everything else, I'm not even going to try to promise it, because it's been really hard to line up when I need to do the edits matched up with the time that I could realistically make it a good stream. So we'll see, but I'm just gonna put it out there, possibility, because I have to do I'm seriously going to spend most of tomorrow doing photo shoots and edits on a existing review. And when I say edits, I don't necessarily mean photo edits, but actually like text writing edits. And then I suspect I'm going to spend most of this weekend just doing photo edits. And since I'll be doing gaming too, I kind of have my doubts that the photo edits are going to make it into that, or a photo editing live stream would make it into that equation, but you never know. We'll see what happens. Carson, you're gonna miss the next 2 weekends of game streams. Oh yes, because Europe. Enjoy that trip. That sounds like a lot of fun. I wish I was going. Just if nothing else, a change of scenery would be kind of neat. But hey, it is what it is. Anyway, so again, thanks to everyone for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation. If you would like to support the channel, and it's deeply appreciated to anyone who does, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And of course, huge thanks to those who are supporters: Carson, Diablo, David, Austin, and Curvy Mermaid. Yes, I did get all the right names in order is whatever the order is. And let's see, anything else? I don't think there was anything else. So with that, I hope you all have an excellent rest of the weekend. I will see all of you in Discord, and good night, everyone.